Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm an addict and an alcoholic. Another bozo on the bus, and I care about you.
Yes, and I'm LouiLou. My pronouns are he and him, and I am in recovery for crystal meth and alcohol, and I am always in search of balance. Yes, and each week we strive to foster a brave space where we can engage in conversations centered around topics of recovery.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces, actually more spaces and better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us.
Yes, but before we do that, please like, share, comment on this episode, ding that bell, and rate us.
Rate us, ding that bell, comment,
rate.
do all the things. And now the disclaimer. The thoughts, opinions, and views expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. The material shared here is for general information purposes only. In other words, we're just a couple of friends behind a mic here to entertain you. And if you hear a lot of spit in my mouth, it's because right before we started filming, Louis gave us Starburst.
I'm a sabotager. It's like, I'm on. Here, have one of these lovely candies. That was smooth like butter.
It was smooth like butter.
Or it was red like a lobster.
Red like
Ricky.
So how is everyone?
I am fantabulous. It's a beautiful day in San Francisco.
It
and
is.
Of course, we're inside with the shade strong. Reminds me of the before time.
Oh, when you were high on meth and paranoid.
Exactly.
Everyone's watching me.
I know. Oh my God. My paranoia was a little different. I'll talk about that more later, but I would look over and think people were talking shit about me. And then I would be like, okay.
And no one was there.
No. It's like, it didn't alter the course of my day. It's just like I was pretty self-centered anyway.
I see.
They must be talking about me.
I see.
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been, I think I may have talked about this with you like off air, but I've been having kind of a rough time these last couple of months with like some mental health stuff, but I feel like in the last couple of days I've finally like pulled out of it. Which has been really nice, and I feel so grateful for like all the loving messages that I've gotten from people and people checking up on me. That's been really helpful.
Makes me happy. Right on.
Yeah. And we have a guest today who was just on his phone because apparently we're not filming.
Wow, I hope the ringer's off.
It is. The ringer's off.
It's off.
So today's our guest for today is Leo. Leo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yes, thank you. I'm doing great.
All right. Thank you.
Leo's a
talker.
A man of few words.
Yeah.
It's like, but who is Leo?
Who is
Leo? Why? What's the significance? Like, other than like, we have you here for a reason, but you have another.
You have a role.
Yeah, you have another
at
role
the
here.
Castro Country Club. What's your role?
Yes, I am the assistant manager.
Woo!
Country Club.
Okay.
And he's doing a lovely job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Yes.
And so we have Leo on today for today's topic. For this month is Pathways to Redemption, Navigating the Criminal Justice System. And today we're going to be having that conversation with Leo, who has so graciously volunteered his time.
Absolutely.
He's pulling away from work in order to chat with us today.
I would do that too, so I get it.
What would you do? Not work?
Pull away from work.
Oh.
I need to take a break to go do this so I can blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So Leo, before we start, we ask all of our guests the same 3 questions, and we give you 3 minutes to answer all 3 of those questions.
Again, only 3 minutes.
Only 3 minutes because we will cut you off.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, shall we begin?
Yes.
First question is, where are you from?
I'm originally from Hawaii. I'm living in San Francisco right now.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And what brought you to recovery?
What brought me to recovery was the criminal justice system.
Oh, okay. So like in the reading, sometimes we came on our own, and sometimes the court sent us. Huh?
Yes.
Bless you.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like we are giving you, like, this is a deposition because you are giving us so few words.
Exactly. He's on.
Where are you from? I'm from here.
My bottom was in prison.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Where I hit my first bottom. My second bottom. This is like my second time in sobriety.
So
this is now your second time.
What's keeping you here?
What's keeping
Okay,
me
so
here?
That's an addendum to our second
that's an
question.
addendum, because it's and let me, obviously you came in through the criminal justice system, but
I mean,
there
that's
had
not
to-
obvious.
well, no, okay, well, he just said it. He just said it. I mean, Jaylon's all, maybe that's all he wants to share. Hey, Jaylon, we're gonna get this out of him. No, it's like, okay, so what? Maybe I don't know if this is a quick answer, but like I know there had to be a point where there was a shift, where it was no longer about that.
There was a shift. There was a point in my prison sentence where everything all the things I've heard before started to make sense. And I started to realize, I looked at myself and realized that, I seen the insanity,
Mm-hmm.
and I seen where my isms or my disease or my using and my drinking had brought me. And I,
That makes
so
that makes sense. I love that.
Yeah.
And-
How fun? Go ahead.
no. So it was at that time that it finally hit me that yes, I'm an addict. Yes, I'm an alcoholic, and where I'm at right now in this cell is a direct result of my drinking and drugging.
Mm-hmm.
See, Jaylon, this is why we pressed on, because that answer was beautiful.
I thought it would be so funny if like he started to press on and we're like, all right, we've got to wrap that up. No, to the last question.
Well, before we started shooting, you guys were making it clear that it was like we're on time constraint. We're going to be doing this. We're going to
Okay, now you are mischaracterizing us. All we said was
Actually,
3
you're not.
minutes, and we told you that we run until 4:45. You're not gonna see. This is we're not. You're already lying on here and already lying.
Things never change.
I love that.
Um,
That's really interesting that we get to see your perspective of how this kind of briefing session goes, because that's probably exactly what we were saying. We got to do this, make sure this is on tight.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Our last question before we jump in is, do you have a higher power, and if so, what's your relationship to your higher power?
Yes, I do. So right now, at this point in my sobriety, my higher power is love.
Mm.
And that's what I try to everywhere I go, or in anything that I try to do, I try to bring that into it.
Okay.
So it was kind of deep, but love was something that I didn't really experience growing up, or like for most of my life. So so it just made sense for me to have that as a higher power, because I have to strive to be closer to my higher power. So it just made sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like that's so beautiful, and so I feel like that's a really nice place to start.
Yes.
So one of the kind of themes in the last few conversations that we've had on the criminal justice system has been people's backgrounds. So how people's backgrounds have influenced like their future decision making. And so one of the things you just said was that when you were growing up, you didn't really experience love. So can you tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like, and maybe what life was like before you found yourself engaging in criminal behavior?
But there was always turmoil at home.
Okay.
I grew up in a very unstable environment, well, a very unloving environment. There was a lot of violence. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of drinking, abuse of all kinds, and it really as an adult, it affected how I dealt with other human beings. I've never seen people treat each other with respect or love in any type of way, and I thought that was normal. So this time around, learning those kind of things and learning how to have actual human relationships that don't benefit me, or just to have.
So was it a lot of, did it, like when you were younger, did it feel like a lot of the relationships were transactional?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so that was like my childhood. It was very abusive in the household, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of criminal behavior. In school, in school, I was that kid that kind of always got picked on. I was bullied a lot. So there was like no safe place. So I grew up in, feeling very threatened no matter where I was, whether I was at home or school. And, having to learn how to defend myself and fight everywhere I go. And, I brought that into my adulthood too. And that affected my decision-making as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And on, learning how to deal with problems, or dealing with people. So yeah.
So growing up, how did you see people, how was conflict handled, or how did you feel like you were being taught how to deal with conflict?
with violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut a bit.
It was always, that's the only way that we could, really settle things. And that from where I came from, that was how it was done.
Yeah.
You know, so then that you grew up just knowing that's the only way. So when you get into conflicts as an adult later on in life, is like the first thing I would resort to was violence.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you? You know, like
Yeah.
it's like all you knew, it's all you saw.
What we know.
And,
yeah.
and anyone who tried to resolve their conflicts in another way were seen as weak. There was no such thing as being a better man. It was just like who won the fight and who didn't.
Right. And at what point would you say your behavior started to become questionable? Like when, like looking back, when do you think, oh, this is when things started to get really bad for me?
It was like maybe in my early 20s. My first run in sobrieties, I got in trouble with the law, and I was told it was either prison or it was either drug treatment.
Yeah.
And so I chose drug treatment because who wants to go to prison? And that's when I knew something was wrong. And I just didn't, I knew it was wrong. What I was doing was wrong. I just didn't know how to change it. And it's at that time I wasn't ready. I didn't have the motivation.
Where do you think that came from, this idea that what you were doing wrong? Because I was going to make the comment that, if this is all that you know.
Well, you go to the courts and then you go to drug treatment and you start hearing these things.
But even that kind of is normalized, because I have family members that kind of are in and out. It's almost like it's a part of the process, it's a part of your coming of age, that if like we joke and say, I got this DUI because I'm an alcoholic. It's what I was supposed to get.
Well, I think I was the first one in my family to go to drug treatment.
Oh, okay.
So it was,
and that was in your 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Early 20s. So I started to get exposed to different things and different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's like so the idea is like things started to change when you were as you were exposed to things outside of.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
So early childhood. So you said it started to get bad in like your early 20s.
Well, I think it started to get that's where things came to a head. But I think things got really bad maybe around when I was 14 and my orientation was discovered. I was ejected from the household and I started living on the streets and started getting into sex work and, and just making adult decisions at 14. And that's when even though I was exposed to drug use and, criminal behavior before, that's when I actually started to do the drugs.
It was necessity.
Myself.
It was a necessity. Yeah.
Yeah. So it became as part of a profession and it didn't, stop from there.
Right. So it was like on one part. So I guess so then the other question I have is, what role did like substances play too, like drugs and alcohol during that time? Like, was it hand in hand?
Yeah. It comes with, when you're living on the streets and the type of work I was getting into and the type of people I was hanging out with, and it just came second nature. It was always there, and it was a way to get things done. And it was also a way to start numbing for me to continue on what I was doing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you, so things start to kind of like ramp up in your 20s. So what was life like while you were like, say, drinking and using, and when you were like, when the criminal behavior was like at its height? So this is like before like you started to experience the consequences.
I remember, so the drug use got in the way of my work at that time, and there was a lot of times where I would be like, sleeping on the streets, or I'll be jumping from hotel room to hotel room, from people's couch to couch, and it just I remember eating there was times when I would have to eat like out of a trash can, So
were you in Hawaii at the time?
Yes.
It's probably good trash, huh?
You're so stupid.
There has fresh air.
This Hawaiian barbecue.
The sidewalks were still cleaner.
Yeah. So you were like eating out of trash. So things started to get pretty bad.
Yes. Yeah. And at that time, I just didn't know. I knew it was bad, but I just didn't know how to get out of it.
Would you say like Okay, so knowing what you know now, and then going back to what you said about your higher power and trying to get closer to your higher power, do you feel like you were looking for this love that you didn't have through this process? Like maybe,
Yes, yes, and then I can't really go into detail about that though. But
You don't have to.
there
No,
was there was a lot of times where a lot of instances and a lot of people that came into my life where thought I was getting something that I never got before, and
it's like
it was
looking
just,
for something that you don't
it
really
was
know
just
what it
me
is,
looking
but
for something that
yeah.
I in places that I shouldn't have been looking for.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So then at what point did you start to get in trouble with the criminal justice system?
Like my early 20s was the first time, and
Okay.
they gave me those options. I completed the stipulations, and I was
What were they?
Go to drug treatment and complete drug treatment, or go to prison. And I chose the drug treatment. I did everything they did, and that was my first introduction to 12-step programs. You go to the drug treatment center, they put me in a clean and sober home, and they told me to make 30 meetings in 30 days. And I just kept on going, and I did all the footwork, but my heart wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, say more about like your heart wasn't really there. Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Like I wanted a better life, but now I look back at it is that I wasn't willing 100% to do the real actual work.
Was there fear involved with letting go of?
Yes, letting go of all the things that I
Yeah.
knew, all the things I grew up with, my belief system at that time. I was scared.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There was that fear of having to live life, to learn new things and deal with life on life terms in a new way.
Were you also affected by this idea that if you did things a different way, you would be seen as weak? I mean, because that shit had to be brewing up in your.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I was just saying it's amazing some of the messaging that we get that we don't think it affects us, but later on it rears its ugly head. I'm like the yes man over here. Like he's asking the questions. I'm all project, yeah, do this.
So when you say, well, at what point did you start doing time, right? Because you had the option. Go ahead.
So that was way later in life. Like I was able to rack up a little sobriety time, and so I was very personalities before principles, and I let that take me out. And like I said, I never really did the real actual inner work. So all those things bubbled up, and I let it take me out.
Okay.
So eventually I started drinking and drugging again, and I got into some illegal behavior.
Yeah.
I was not living on the streets anymore, but I was still making friends with the wrong types of people. And around maybe 2016, 2017, I picked up aggravated identity theft charges and wire fraud charges on a federal level. And so from criminal behavior on the streets, I graduated to white collar crime. And
we're all okay. It's juicy. Go ahead.
And so
how did that happen, by the way? How did it graduate to that?
You just meet the right people. In all honesty, it started off with a group of friends having a funny conversation, talking about our financial situation right now, and be like, "Oh yeah, we should do this," and then eventually it turns serious.
I feel like we need to be careful because it's like the universe says yes to everything.
Yeah. And then my manipulative mind was like, I know how. I think I know a way. And they listened to me. And so basically I was pretty much the organizer.
Okay.
So I gave everybody their assignment.
Leo said he met people in the mirror.
So you started, which is interesting because one of the things that I experience time and time again is that people in recovery, like we have all of these skills that we gained from the streets, right? And like, and there's, I think just my opinion is like fundamentally, I think that addicts and alcoholics are some of the smartest people out there. And so we get, we get sober and then like our lives start to kind of take shape. And so, I'm not surprised to hear that like at some point you're like, hey, I have a plan and this is how we're going to organize it. So I don't want to skate. You wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
I don't want to skate past because you've said a few times, I wasn't willing to do the actual work, right? Can you say more about what you believe is the actual work?
Like the actual work is like literally cleaning house, you know, working those 12 steps and telling the truth to your sponsor and not holding back and not hiding things and not leaving anything out of your inventory, and actually, you know, learning new values and and just practicing all of those spiritual principles that we supposedly learn
But
in
Leo,
the 12 steps.
where did that come from? I mean, it's like was it over a period of like, okay, so you're in 12 step. Obviously in the beginning you weren't feeling it or whatever. Was it a longer process than normal? Because you know, some people come in, like I came in, I was so broken. I was so kind of done and I was ready to listen and hear. And I didn't have this mistrust. And so I could hear it. I didn't come in with it.
I think the first time that I was in sobriety, I was going through the motions because I was sent there. You know, this time around, I actively chose sobriety.
That's a decision.
I actively chose sobriety. And like I said, it's like while you're in the prison cell and you're looking around and, you know, just all those things you heard from before, it finally makes sense.
Yeah.
You have all these conversations with yourself because that's all you have to talk to. And, you know, it's just, you're having these conversations with yourself and it's like, these are the things that, you know, I've heard before, that was told to me before. And, you know, everything finally makes sense. When it finally made sense, you know, and I had to be there at that particular time in my life for things to finally make sense.
Nice.
So when things started so you said you had more than one go round. So you said that, you know, that before, I guess, things started to click, it was personalities before people, or was it
personality before principles?
Principles before personalities.
I just had a very combative personality.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes I still do. You know, it's something I actively work on every day. But back at that time, I was not. You know, I would go to meetings like so ready to pop off.
Kind of like our customers at Cliffs.
How do you call coming for customers?
You know.
So at what point? So I'm assuming then, like, you got sober, you did your first go round, you did your second go round, you did some time, and then after that, what were the kind of like longer lasting consequences of being involved with the criminal justice system? So really what I'm asking about is like, go ahead. Oh, what I'm asking about is like, okay, you know, we talked about your background. We talked about, you know, what things look like when you were in the middle of it. And then at some point you get sober, things start to click. But I imagine that there were consequences that you still had to deal with after that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, the most obvious is like the criminal record.
Okay.
No matter how far I'll go in sobriety or whatever, I will always be a convicted felon. And, you know, one of the biggest fears, you know, coming out of incarceration and coming back into the world was, you know, the way things are set up in this world. You know, a brown man with my background, with my upbringing, and with my criminal record should not make it. And I find myself, you know, thriving today. So that's a miracle on its own. And
I guess I'm always asking this question, where did that come from? Because what steps? I mean, do you feel like you've taken, or is it an attitude?
I believe it was just an attitude. You know, and it came from an attitude that you gain while in sobriety, and you're working on yourself and you're steadily cleaning house. And, you know, I was determined to build a better life. I knew I had to like work really hard. And I've been working really hard, you know, and, you know, there's a lot of fruits of my labor by the grace of God. And, but there's always going to be that fear, no matter where I go.
Yeah.
Even when I make new friends or
Yeah.
I'm meeting new people, there's always that. I'm a convicted felon.
Mhm.
You know?
I don't want to. This is wonderful, and I don't want to run too fast to the like. And this is what I'm doing now, right? Because I want to hear. Because I'm curious, I want to hear more about like how is it that you navigate it having a criminal record, like how, right? Because you've obviously you said you're thriving, but it's like I think I think like there's a message in there that people can hear, which is like it didn't just happen overnight, right? Like there was the point where you were released from prison, and then you had to make decisions in order to get to the point where you're thriving. So I'm wondering, like, what did life look like after that, right? Like, what are some of the obstacles you had to
He's
face?
Barbara Walters and you.
Yeah,
He wants
yeah.
to know
Yeah.
those times when it was
Well, let me
dark
tell
for
you something. We have to
So,
get up to
yeah.
45.
So it was okay. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was basically
Yeah.
the first steps was me. 4 months into my prison sentence was up. They sent me to a halfway house over here on 111 Taylor Street.
Okay.
Mhm. Oh, I know that
In the
place.
Tenderloin?
That's a program that, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a halfway house.
Yeah.
So from there, let me rewind a little.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hear it.
So I know I had to start stabilizing,
Okay.
or get into some type of program or sobriety while in prison.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic or whatnot, they wouldn't allow anybody to congregate or hold meetings or anything.
Okay.
I had a friend that sent me some literature, and he also brought me a subscription to Grapevine magazine.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So the Grapevine, there was a few of us after networking a little in prison.
That's our meeting in print.
It really was.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't have a meeting in prison. So I would get my subscription, I would read it, and I'll pass it along to the next alcoholic.
Nice.
No
And
way.
that really became our meeting in print.
I just
not
got chills right now.
Oh
It's
my
like-
God, that makes me so
Yeah.
emotional.
I know, my first issue that I got in prison was the annual prison issue.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that was like pretty cool. And so when I left, I was able to call customer service Grapevine and get my get my subscription transferred to another alcoholic who was still in there.
Yeah. We have a comment. Just 1 second. Hold that thought. Jaylon writes,
So it's safe to say you had a psychic change. Also, how have you been able to allow yourself to accept the fruits of your labor and this new life that you have today?
can we come back
Thank
to
you,
that?
Jaylon.
That's a
We're
great
gonna
question,
put
but
that in the
we'll,
parking lot.
yeah, we're gonna round off with that one.
We're trying to feed off the meats of the in between.
So that was
Uh-huh.
that. And we advocated really hard with the prison guards and the counselors and the staff to have to bring back meetings, and we were finally able to have our AA meetings back in
Nice.
prison. And exactly when we first had our first meeting, the next day I was told that I'm being sent to a halfway house.
Oh wow.
Oh
So I
wow.
was like, oh cool,
That's
so
That's like
um,
love.
so fast forward, now I'm here, and I was just like, okay,
This was 4 months before the halfway house. That's when you started. Like,
maybe
it doesn't matter. The timetable is
maybe 5-6 months.
Yeah, sure.
So 4 months until my prison sentence was up, that's when they sent me to the halfway house.
Got it.
It's like some new program that they do.
Uh-huh.
And so when I got out, like my first priority was sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had to get a job and stuff. So, but I took whatever job called me back first,
Okay.
and I started being a security guard at Target on 4th and Mission.
Nice.
It was rough.
Mm.
And so what I did was I went to meetings. I reached out to people. I built a support tree. I went to Zoom meetings. I was going to as much people and meeting, establishing myself in the sobriety community here in San Francisco as much as I could. I started volunteering here at the Castro Country Club.
This is all pretty recent.
Yes, this was so maybe 2022 I came out.
No shit.
Yeah.
You really are thriving. Sorry, I'm just kind of like struck of just that's all very recent.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
And I think
Go
I
ahead.
was, what the truth is that everyone is meant to live a good life, but you have to put in the work.
Mm.
Of course.
And I think that I was always meant to live a good life, and that's what I'm living the life that God intended for me to live. But I just wasn't mentally. And spiritually, I just wasn't there, willing to accept it.
Uh-huh.
So I just started building community, and I started, you put yourself around the right people, and people start noticing the work that you're doing, and they notice that you're taking your sobriety serious, and that's when things start to really fall into place. And eventually there's been a lot of hiccups. I'm not saying that there wasn't. I was actually homeless in San Francisco for a while, maybe for like a month or so. That was scary, like homeless, sober.
Did you
Yeah,
do
of course.
shelters in or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would go to the St. Vincent de Paul in Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I would go. But so there was a lot of hiccups. There was like a lot of dark moments and stuff, but I kept trudging no matter what, because I knew that something was, even at that time, like even though there was like a lot of dark spots, there was also like a lot of bright spots.
Absolutely.
And I had a lot of bright spots to hold on to. And our camera is frozen. Did
Oh,
you
it's
notice?
fine. It does that
okay.
every now and then.
Yeah.
It's us. It's not them.
Okay.
No one else can see. But
Okay,
us,
good.
yeah.
So
We used to freak out. Oh my God, there's a spot on it. No.
no,
Go ahead.
so I had those bright spots to power me through the dark phases, or the dark times. And yeah, I forgot what your question
No,
was.
that's okay.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
you flushed it.
Yes, you talked. I mean, you talked about stabilizing and all the ways that you started to stabilize.
Yeah.
So can we pull up
Yeah,
Jaylon's question again? So I feel like this is
Yeah.
So Jaylon wrote.
So it's safe to say you had a psychic change. Also, how have you been able to allow yourself to accept the fruits of your labor and this new life that you have today?
So first part of that question, or first part of that comment, yes, it is safe to say that. Second part, it's something I have to actively do every day too, because it's like a lot of the times it's like, if I think too much, or if I get in my own head, I'm like, life was never this great.
Yeah.
And I feel like at any
Just
moment
question
things
it,
are just going
yeah.
to start crashing down, or I'm going to do
Mhm.
something that totally messes it up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I tell myself, is like, I did the work. I'm doing the best I can every day, and I just have to take it easy on myself, and enjoy what's this new life that I've built for myself.
I feel that. When you say take it easy on yourself, what does that look like?
Just knowing that, just being able to just, if things didn't go if the day didn't go the way I planned it, or something didn't go the way I planned it, just know that I did my best to keep my side of the street clean. And I know at the end of the night, I can put my head on my pillow knowing that, I did everything I could to, just be a better person.
Hey, so where is your family in this? Do you have a relationship?
Like, they're around.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
it's
I mean, I lived a full life. Like, I'm 40 now, so I lived so long without them. Like, at this point, I just don't feel the need to
understand.
That's
like, okay,
real.
like it is what it is.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel like I've met some people here in this current sobriety that are better than any family. They're the best family that I could ever hope for.
Billy
Yeah.
said, I love everything about this.
Mm.
Well, we love you, Billy.
Yes.
Oh, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Billy has been like a huge support from the time I was a volunteer till now. And, there's some people that you meet along the way in sobriety that is going to have such a profound impact on your sobriety and on your life. And, these are people that I'm always totally grateful for.
Yeah, and just a reminder that Billy is our amazing executive director here at the Castro Country Club.
What
Yes,
was
yes.
coming up for you just now?
I know, it's like I'm all we Barbara Waltered you.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Billy.
Yeah.
Actually, it was you, Billy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you want to answer my question?
What was your
Oh, I
question?
said, what came up for you?
Oh, what came?
You seemed moved, and I wanted to know more about what. was
Sometimes
moving.
it even happens when I share at meetings and stuff. It's like when I start talking about, the present state of my life and the people that I have in my life, I just get so emotional.
yeah.
And it's something that I'm still, it's new for me. So so it does get emotional, because never in my life has life been so great. So
Yeah, that's so beautiful, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
I think, one of the things that we've talked about before, is that there when it comes to like addiction, there's, it's very dark. I live in the TL and I see it all the time, and it gets very, very
I have
dark.
to get out of there.
I know. I know my partner and I've been talking about how bad I need to get out of there. But
Even if you just to move across the street.
yeah, I mean, he
Just
lives
like-
in well,
Yeah.
that's not here nor there. But what I'm trying to get at here is, Mike writes, this has been one of the best of these podcasts. Leo's honesty and vulnerability, just so amazing.
Yes.
Aw,
thank you,
Rock
Mike.
star. Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
What I wanted to say is that I think you're a really good example of the other side of addiction, right? A lot of times when people like are reading about addiction in the news, it's about, like people dying, or it's about like these really dark sides to what like addiction looks like, or what it looks like to have like a criminal record. And what a lot of people don't realize is that there's this other side to addiction, and it's the side where people do recover. It's the side where people like are actually trying to live a better life and are actually having a better life.
Thriving. Yes.
And then they're thriving. And I feel like this is such a good example of that. I feel like you're a statistical anomaly. And that, you had the background that you did, and then you had the experiences that you did. And then at the end that you still chose something that was like easier and softer for you, as opposed to kind of continuing on. We have another comment.
Yeah.
Brandon says, so great to hear more about Leo. I continue to be more and more amazed at this man.
He's a manager at the country club.
Stanton.
And
Jose Sanchez writes, Leo, is that your last name?
Yes.
How do you say your last name?
Bite.
Vite.
You are a true miracle and shining light of sobriety.
I
That's
love
my
that.
sponsor.
I love that.
Oh, hi,
That's my
Jose.
sponsor.
Yeah, but it's like that-
he's allowed to say that.
Absolutely. No, it's like what you were talking about is so amazing. I think that when we dive in and then we build this community around, and one of the things I was thinking, like, it might help to hear, when you being not so trustworthy of people, like, what do you look for? What are these qualities that stand out in the people that you kind of zero in on?
Hold on. He said,
hi.
hi. Your sponsor.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm all
Uh-huh.
like, what are there particular qualities that you look for, like, for the people? Because, go ahead.
Yeah. So coming from where I come from, I think I've developed some kind of extra sense. There's people like I meet new people, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I can make my
You just
decision.
trust that
Like,
judge
oh yeah,
now.
this is a cool person, or it's like, oh, I gotta stay away from.
I feel that.
So it's always the vibe.
Mhm.
It's always the vibe. Is how they project themselves, how they carry, what they lead conversations with, or their introduction with.
That's real.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Always look for the humbleness.
Mhm.
People who are they lead with a humble spirit, or you can tell. Now that I'm sober, and now that I'm sober, I can sense when or you can feel when people are actually there for you, just by little things that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the little things that people do that show you how much they respect you or don't respect you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you just look. Sometimes you just don't pay attention to what's coming out of people's mouth, and you just watch how they walk.
Yeah.
So you trust yourself today, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's something that I struggled with. And like to Jaylon's question, going back, how do I allow myself to benefit from the fruits of my labor or whatever? There was a long time where I just would not do certain basic things, like buy a new pair of shoes because I needed to, or treat myself to something nice because I felt like I didn't deserve it. Like that I was on borrowed time, that this was not my life. This was, I was just kind of biding my time. It took a really long time to get past that.
Yeah. What you're both making me think of is, like I was sharing a little earlier about, things have been kind of tough for me in the last couple of months. And I love what you said about humility, like for real, because I've just been thinking about, like, I've been in like a lot of pain, but I'm getting out of that. And the gift of like that depression for me has been, I have felt safest and have felt most healed by people who have been humble, or people who have been loving. And what it's brought up for me is just like how important, like, all the material trappings of this world, they don't fucking matter. We don't get to take anything when we die, you know?
Right.
But what has been so important to me has been like the relationships that I have with people and like how gentle people are with like each other. And I think about people like Billy, and I think about people like Brandon, who are like very kind and loving to like the sick and suffering person that comes in here. And it does make a world of difference. You know, it's been like those people who, when like you walk into a meeting, they're like warmly greeting you, you know,
exactly.
and it's been those people who like from the floor are sharing like very honest things, and they aren't trying to put on a show for anyone. Yeah, so I just feel, I guess I'm sharing all of that to say is like I feel very inspired by your story, and yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about that.
I know.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And also, it's like just the quality of my social life. Like, you know, judging by the people that you have in your life, you know, it can tell you where you are in your sobriety.
Oh yeah.
You know, I can honestly say I have the best quality people in my life right now, you know, as far as, you know, socially or professionally, you know, and it's amazing that, you know, after everything that I had to go through, you know, you get these, you find this amazing community, and, you know, no one has led me, what's the phrase? Astray. Yeah. No one has led me astray yet, you know, and no one, you know, there's just amazing people in my life that I know genuinely care and, you know, are concerned about me and who contribute every day to my sobriety. And, you know, that's amazing for me.
I love that, Leo.
Yeah, I think that, you know, honestly, I think it's cool. I think that you should give yourself credit, because it is a dual kind of job going on, because it's not that we just sit back and hope to find the right people. We have a responsibility. Like you said, it's like I pay attention to energy, to vibe and all that stuff. I fulfill the darkness. And that's the beautiful thing about this community. Like, there are people in various places there. Some people are still in that dark place and they don't know how to. And there's room here for all of us. And I don't always have to be that person but you know, the gift too of this program, and when we talk about like the promises, when you see people get it and then they show up and then they start doing what you were doing, like, hell, whatever love was working on you inside, because I had never heard anybody talk about this idea of like, I couldn't get a meeting. So I was reading the grapevine and then handing it on to other people, because that's pretty amazing. Yeah. Justin Shuck writes, Billy and Brandon are saints. Glad you're here on the team. CCC Leo. Is that a canned message, Justin? I love
Thanks,
you, Justin.
You know, so it's like, you know, I allow myself, you know, I do the work. I trudge on no matter what. I have the support. I do everything I need to do to maintain my sobriety. And, you know, I just allow myself to, you know, I allow the fruits of my labor and the fruits of sobriety and all the promises to enter my life. And it was just 2 years in. So March 17th, I made 2 years.
Holy shit. Congratulations.
You know, just 2 years, I'm just amazed at how well things are for me right now.
And this is just the beginning.
Yeah. And it's just the beginning. So sometimes I get those scared moments, like I said earlier, but, you know, and every day, you know, it's something that I have to work on. You know, it's an everyday thing.
Yeah. So, hold that thought. So we're gonna land the plane for the filming. But for folks who are familiar with our format, we're gonna continue on this conversation once the camera stops rolling. So if you're interested in hearing the next 15 minutes of our conversation, you can listen and find that on the podcast exclusive content.
That's a good podcast.
The podcast is podcast exclusive content. So find that wherever you listen to podcasts.
Exactly. So the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBT recovery community.
We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth.
Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support.
You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcast.
Yes, and tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.